Live from Studio 67 in Florida's Capital County, it's time to be FACish.
Access granted.
Good people, welcome to the end of week one of the 2021 session. Davin Suggs here, Director of Public Policy with FAC, and I'm joined by the rest of my team, and we're going to go over what happened this week and what didn't happen. So let's start with a little roll call. And this week, folks, tell me who you are, introduce yourself, and let the people know what your favorite color is. I think this is very important as they get to know us. So I'm going to start with Tiffany. How you doing today?
Hi, Davin. I'm good. Thank you for the warm welcome. I am Tiffany Henderson, the Senior Public Policy Coordinator at FAC, and my favorite color is red, and it always has been red. I guess as a kid, it's just something that caught my eye, and I'm a very, colorful person. But later on, I was like, red means confidence, excitement, and energy. And it is the most stimulating of all colors. And it also stands for passionate, energetic, outgoing, and courageous. So red actually describes who I am as a person.
You are red. Absolutely. Thank you and welcome to the show. All right, next, let's go to Eddie. Eddie, how you doing down there in Fort Lauderdale? What's your favorite color?
Just fine. This is Eddie Labrador, Senior Legislative Counsel for the Florida Association of Counties. My favorite color is blue. As a kid, blue was my favorite because it reminded me always of the amazing New York Mets. my kid baseball team.
All right.
Course, over the years, I've decided that it's better to be a Yankee.
That's all right. I like blue because blue is the color of FAC. All right. Bob McKee, what's going on?
This is Bob McKee. I'm the Deputy Director for Public Policy for the Association of Counties. And my favorite color has always been orange. Not because of the Mets, and not because I grew up in Tampa Bay and the Buccaneers back in the day when they had the orange uniforms. I'm not really sure. Orioles are one of my favorite birds, so maybe that's what I'd point to. But when I'm in the political process, my favorite color is green, doing the finance and tax issues.
Very clever. Very good. All right. Jeff, how you doing today? Happy Friday.
Great, Devin. This is Jeff Scala here, Associate Director of Public Policy with FAC. I handle environmental and water policy and energy. My favorite color would be purple, as it's really regal, and I love wearing clothes that are purple. I think it complements my red hair.
Yeah. Jeff, you are a king. You are very regal. Sarah, welcome. Last but not least, did you have a good week?
I did have a good week. Hey everyone, it is Sarah Henley, FAC's policy analyst, and my favorite colors are kind of a combination of Eddie, Bob, and Jeff. I like green, blue, and purple because I like natural colors, soothing to the eye, chill, and calming vibes within my colors.
Yeah, that fits it, Sarah. You are very chill and calming. Every time I see you, when you talk to me, I just calm down and relax, especially after talking to Bob. Bob gets me all excited. I need Sarah come in, chill me out a little bit. All right, crew, welcome. Let's get right into it. You know, my personal favorite is the rundown. So real quickly, folks out there, we're going to run down what happened this week. We're going to hit the highlights because it is session now, so the volume of activity has gone up. Things we don't cover will be in the printed version of our podcast. We affectionately call Legible, which will be out. So you can catch all the fine details there. So I'm going to start with Jeff. Jeff.
It's about to go.
This week, there were a lot of bills in the ag and environment side of policy. The first bill, Senate Bill 88, farming operations, cleared its last committee stop in the Senate. It is ready for the floor. The House bill has not been assigned, but was filed this week by Representative Williamson, and that is House Bill 1601. Reclaimed water potable reuse bills were both heard in each chamber. The House and Senate bills are moving along. They're slightly different, so we're going to be monitoring those differences between the bills. Also this week, the House Bill 331 related to private waste companies, the displacement of private waste companies was heard and passed along party lines. This bill would eliminate the option of a local government to pay a displaced waste company in lieu of providing a 3-year notice period. Another bill that we're watching this week is House Bill 267, the preemption of seaport regulations. The bill was amended to remove county ports from the bill, so it's currently looking only like municipal ports would be preempted by the bill. We thank Representatives Roth and Marka for working on amendments to remove counties from the bill. The last bill this week in the rundown is House Bill 839. It was temporarily postponed. This is a preemption of energy infrastructure regulations. We are trying to work with the sponsor on that one, but it was temporarily postponed due to a title amendment, and more later on the House broadband bill.
All right, Jeff, good timing. You are getting much better at this. Applause. If I had an applause sound effect, which I do, it's on a different board, though. All right, Bob, you know what time it is?
Time for the rundown. I want to start by saying, Davin, I put the work in worked up. So when I get you worked up, that's why.
Go ahead, Bob, run it down.
All right, the big bill this week in the finance and tax area was Senate Bill 50. It passed out of its last committee, the Senate Appropriations. They, despite what was discussed in finance and tax of coupling it with a number of tax exemptions or other things, they did not do that in appropriations. They passed the bill out clean. They did have an amendment that clarified how the additional local options surtaxes that would be collected under the bill would be distributed back, that they come back through the discretionary sales tax pool, that currently when dollars are collected outside of delivered into a county that has a surtax, they go into that quarterly distribution that comes out from DOR. Couple other bills. House Bill 585, payment for construction services, passed its first committee in House Regulatory Reform. They did this bill increases the interest rate under prompt pay situations where the payment is not made on time. They actually, previous versions were going to increase it from 1% per month to 2% per month. They revised that to go from 1% to 1.5% per month. We've asked our membership about that one. We have not heard back that anyone's concerned about that change in interest rate. If you are, please let us know.
Bob.
And that's really finance and tax. Not a lot of activity as they're waiting for the new revenue estimate for general revenue as they look to establish their budgets.
All right. Well, thank you very much, sir. That was very calm and relaxing. You took Sarah's cue right there. I'm still behind the waterfall, as Eric would say if he were here. Eddie, do you know what time it is?
It's anytime.
All right, anytime. Let's go.
All right. Well, this week in House Regulatory Reform, we had a feeding frenzy on local government revenues, as we had several bills that impact our revenues based on the results of committee action. The first bill is House Bill 667. Relating to building inspections. This bill requires that building inspections be allowed to be requested electronically, by email, fillable forms, third-party management software, or forms that are applications that are downloadable to a mobile device. It also provides that under certain circumstances, if a building inspection is denied, then the local enforcement agency will lose 10% of its building and permit fees that it charges for those inspections. Another bill that also affects county and revenues in the same vein is House Bill 1059, dealing with construction permits. This bill provides timelines for the review of additional information that's requested from an applicant seeking a development permit or development order. It requires that certain information be posted on the websites, and that includes building permit applications, attachments. It allows for those applications to be submitted electronically, and it allows for the posting of the status of building permits on a local department's website. It also requires that building permits for residential dwellings be issued within 30 days. And if you fail to meet the deadline, guess what happens? You lose up to 10% of your building permit fees for every day that you missed the deadline. And last but not least, the committee also passed House Bill 735, which relates to local occupational licensing. This is the preemption bill that preempts to the state all licensing of occupations. It basically preempts local supersedes local requirements. And for those local licensing requirements that are currently in existence as of July 1st, 2021, it allows for a 2-year period for those licensing requirements to continue, but then they expire. The committee passed that bill 13-4, and it now heads to the House Commerce Committee, its last committee of reference.
Yeah, thank you, Eddie. You know, your report was sort of blue. There's a lot of tough news right there. We're going to get some of Tiffany's red and get you a red polo and let you fire up the legislature. Sarah, stepping in for Tonette today. Do you know what time it is?
It is COVID time this week. So we had a busy week for COVID. HB 9, protecting consumers against fraud during a pandemic by Representative Zika, passed this morning on the House floor, 113 yeas, and it moves over to the Senate. So both the House HB 7 and Senate Bill SB 72 that provides liability protections for businesses and governmental entities against COVID-19 claims is making moves this week. Senate Bill 72 heads to its last committee, and House Bill 7 is on the House floor right now. It had its second reading yesterday. All amendments failed there, so it is expected to pass this morning on the House floor and move to the Senate. And both the healthcare liability protections for healthcare providers passed HB 705 and SB 74, and it is making its last committee stops sometime soon before hitting the floor. So we expected all these COVID bills to move through pretty quickly on the first week. And the last bill is HB 327, Public Records and Disaster, which creates a public records exemption for individuals impacted during an emergency. And FAC supports this public records exemption, and this bill passed and moves to its last stop.
Sarah, that was a very good job. It might be a promotion in your future, like 6 years from now. You keep doing that for like the next 6 years. I got you. All right.
And I'll move my way up.
All right. Now we're on the Bob's favorite segment. It's called One Big Thing. For those out there listening, our guys are going to highlight one big thing in each of their areas that happened this week, so you can stay in tune for all the happenings affecting counties. I'm going to change it up a little bit. Usually Sarah goes first, but I want Tiffany to go first because I think she's got a federal update. So, Tiffany, it's time for your One Big Thing.
Yes, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I just have a quick update on the American Rescue Plan. Late last week, the U.S. House of Reps passed the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, and that includes the $1.9 trillion aimed at combating the COVID-19 pandemic based on President Biden's American Rescue Plan framework. There's $350 billion in direct assistance to state and local governments to respond to the pandemic, and that includes $65.1 billion in direct aid to counties. So that's something that we're definitely watching. Hundreds of billions of dollars that can be utilized for public health and vaccines, also assistance for vulnerable populations, education, and housing stabilization. So look out for more on that in the legislative bulletin. This bill is now in the Senate, so it was sent over to the U.S. Senate, I believe, yesterday, and so a lot is going on there. The bill was read word for word last night, and there's a vote-a-rama going on. There's going to be a lot of amendments, so we are definitely watching, but we expect the Senate to come out and make their decisions over the weekend. So please look for more information in our legislative bulletin that will go out later today, and it includes an analysis and a county allocation spreadsheet.
All right. Thank you, Tiffany. Yeah. The poor soul who had to read that whole bill word for word, someone needs to get him some Kool-Aid, preferably the orange color, Bob. I like orange Kool-Aid. So for future reference. Okay.
And some chocolate.
Yeah, chocolate
some peanuts or something.
All right, let's get back on track here. Now I want to hear Sarah's
one big thing.
So today we're bringing back something that was up at the beginning of committee weeks but hasn't been heard again, but we think it's important to stay engaged with, and that is regional planning councils. So a little bit of history on regional planning councils. In 1980, under the Florida Regional Planning Council Act, Florida established the 10 regional planning councils in the state. Although all the regional planning councils in the state were actually established before 1980 under interlocal agreements. You can check out the graphic for all the dates on those established, and they're breaking over 40 years now, which is really awesome. But the purpose of RPCs was to create unified councils to assist local governments with resolving common problems with a regional focus, and also to participate in functional planning with the state. So it really creates a bridge between state and local governments for issues that are greater than local issues, and the need for assistance in their surrounding counties. So the bill, SB 62, would eliminate RPCs from Florida statute, which also would remove all requirements for counties to participate within the RPCs. And this removal of RPCs would mean a loss of that state and local partnership that we see right now, and also the potential loss for the local voice and advisory role on all matters that RPCs tackle, like transportation, housing, and emergency planning, which are all very important issues right now more than ever as COVID hits our state. So additionally, RPCs do bring in state and federal grants for research and projects. So this bill could cause a loss to some of this money that RPCs use within their communities. And although the bill does not say that local governments can create RPCs through interlocal agreements the bill says that local governments can create RPCs through interlocal agreements as they were originally formed before 1980. So we're keeping a close eye out on this bill right now, but we haven't seen a House companion on it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with it if it moves.
All right. Thank you, sir. Very good data point. And you guys can see the graphic and read more in legible. And Eddie, even though he likes blue, will wear his red polo when attacking this bill, along with help from the Deputy DOP. That's the Deputy Director of Public Policy, Bob McKee, and his wrath all over it. Thank you, guys. All right. Let me go to Jeff. Jeff, you look like you have
one big thing.
As promised, one big thing this week is broadband. House Bill 753 by Representative Clemens received its first committee hearing, and there was a strike-all amendment that was adopted. And what this bill does is establish opportunity grants to focus broadband expansion in unserved areas. We're talking about a lot of one of Bob's favorite colors, green, over $60 million that will be geared towards establishing grants towards these unserved areas. There are a lot of broadband bills this session. Senator Osley has Senate Bill 1560, which focuses more on establishing a task force and setting up broadband mapping to deliver those access and expansion to rural areas and make sure we have the right maps. There's also Senate Bill 1592 by Senator Burgess, as well as its House companion, House Bill 1239, which really tackles it from a different perspective and incentives to establish expansion of broadband. It also has a preemption of the municipal utility poles in the rights of way. So we're going to be tracking a few different pieces of legislation this session. FAC does a lot of work in this area. Our commissioners, Commissioner Burrows and Weiss, who serve on NACO's National Broadband Task Force, our initiative, Access 67, in really trying to pump up this issue to bridge the digital divide. FAC adopted Ag and Rural Affairs Policy number 1 this year, the expansion of broadband, and we're really focusing, and that was at our legislative conference, to expand broadband access. If you have local resolutions that you've adopted, please send them our way. Send them to me and send them to Tiffany. We're collecting those local resolutions of support to show why and what local governments are doing to expand broadband.
Jeff, thank you. This one's going to go to the very end. It's important. A lot of people to work with. We'll see. You're going to be a busy guy. But the people need you. Kids got to go to school.
And the people need broadband. It's ever more important during COVID, telemedicine, school from home, and working from home. So we need broadband in all 67 counties.
Yeah. And especially we'll get a little bit higher upload speed for Eddie down there in Fort Lauderdale. So speaking of Eddie, I know you've got one big thing.
Thanks, Davin. And yes, my one big thing for this week is Senate Bill 758 by Senator Manny Diaz from Miami. It establishes an express fiduciary duty of care for appointed public officials and executive officers. Specifically, it prescribes the duty of such officers, and it requires them to act in accordance with laws, ordinances, rules, policies, and terms governing their particular office or employment. It requires them to act with care, competence, and diligence normally exercised by reasonably prudent persons in similar corporate and proprietary circumstances. It requires them to act only within the scope of their authority, and it requires them to refrain from conduct that is likely to damage the financial or economic interest of their governmental entity. It requires reasonable use of efforts to maintain documentation in accordance with applicable laws, and the last duty that it specifically and expressly states is to maintain reasonable oversight of any delegated authority and discharge of his or her duties with the care that a reasonably prudent person in a like business position would believe appropriate under the circumstances. The bill establishes training requirements for appointed public officials and executive officers beginning January 1st, 2022. It requires that they complete a minimum of 5 hours of board governance training for each term served.
I have one question. If Bob is the Deputy Director of Public Policy, does he have to take some of this training? Bob?
No, because this only applies to governmental entities. It doesn't apply to nonprofits. So Bob can avoid such board governance training.
I think, but should he is the key question. Should you be trained, Bob?
I will always accept the opportunity to gain additional knowledge.
All right. Instead of gaining knowledge, why don't you share some knowledge? What is your
one big thing?
In the rundown, I'd already mentioned Senate Bill 50, so I'm going to look at one of the bills that was filed as part of the avalanche that comes down on the bill filing deadline the first day of session. Senate Bill 2008 and its companion, House Bill 1429, revise how tourist development taxes work. They would require for any currently enacted tourist development tax that they would expire every 5 years and then have to go to referendum to be reauthorized. There's some language that seeks to try and protect any current debt service that has been pledged from those existing sources, but it's certainly, the bill in its filed form would certainly provide a detrimental source going forward compared to the source today.
Yeah, that's horrible. Horrible idea. So, Bob, I need you to focus and do what you do best, okay? Take Sarah, though, with you. Sarah, I think, although she's chill, I think there's a dark side coming that the legislature will bring out. So you take Sarah with you. All right. Thank you, guys, for the one big thing. I get to do the number one rated segment today. And you know that is
Tiffany's Shoutouts.
There's really only one major shout out today, and we absolutely must do this. We want to say happy birthday to our current association president, Commissioner Melissa McKinley. So everybody, let's clap and say happy birthday to Melissa.
Happy birthday.
All right.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, we want you to enjoy it
Happy
today.
birthday.
And thank you for being our president. And just take the day off. We got it. Actually, Sarah, I'm going to appoint you president for the day of the Florida Association of Counties. And Melissa, wherever you are, have a good one. And thanks for being the commissioner. And thanks for being our president. All right. All right. Week one is done. And everybody, we got a little bit more bill reading to do. We're going to go home, sit on the couch, wait on amendments to drop, look at the calendar. But it's pretty good week one. Pace stepped up a little bit from committee week, but we were ready. We took action this week. The team had a good week on behalf of counties. And so to my team, I say thank you. Last word. I'm going to start with Eddie. For week one, what's your last word for this week?
Frantic.
Nah, you like it though. Not blue, red is going to be his color. Right. Sarah, you got any last words?
Just all over the place. Not a bad thing, but there's a lot going on all levels of government right now.
That's all right. You handle it well, though. You handle it well. Jeff.
I try.
The marathon sprint has begun. So we got 4 days down, 56 to go.
Yeah. And people need to understand that it's a marathon sprint. That's a long time to run fast. Man. Bob, close us out.
All right. First part of the final word is that best part of session starting is that it can't end until it starts.
Ah, very good. You're right.
The other is, if I heard right, and I'm now being referred to Deputy Dog, I just want to make sure y'all know I not only put the work in worked up, I put the wow in bow wow.
Bob, you're amazing with this week off. You are amazing. Everybody else, you're going to have to step it up. And to my members, as always, not going to change this at all, but just I want everybody to know out there why we do what we do. Our why is, it's not the critic who counts. It's not the person who points out how the strong person stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the person who is actually in the arena. And that's almost 400 plus commissioners and thousands of staff members out there, Florida Association of Counties. So with that, we thank you. We love doing what we do for you, and everybody have a great weekend.